Here's what it looks like to me.
Okay.
Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk have given up on Earth, and they've decided they've got to come up with an escape plan. And so they're pretending to like give Michael Strahan a ride or a couple of other people. But in truth, they've realized this thing's going south and they hit an escape pod. That's my guess. Doctor, you're more versed in this. You tell me what's going on.
Okay. All right. Let me just tell you, their escape pod is not going to work because we don't know enough to live forever and leave the Earth behind. Yeah. Right now, it's going to take more time than our lifetime. 100-year Starship back in 2012, we tried to understand where space exploration was going, how to look at it. Our project was named, our proposal that won the grant was called An Inclusive, Audacious Journey Transforms Life Here on Earth and Beyond. Notice the first word was inclusive. We said that everybody loves space. There's an African proverb that says, no one shows a child the sky, right? It's part of us. Space isn't just for rocket scientists and billionaires. We've been saying that since 2012. Wow. It's not just for rocket scientists and billionaires.
Right.
It has a much bigger purview. What I'm afraid that we've been doing today over these past, 6-7 months is focusing so much on what's happened with SpaceX, with Blue Origin, and with Virgin Galactic, that we forget that they were not the originators of space exploration or technology, or that...
Yeah, they're redoing a trip that you guys have made.
We know how to do low Earth orbit. We know how to go to the moon because we did it before.
Right.
And you paid for it, I paid for it, our parents paid for it, we all paid for it, right? So we know how to do that. So they're building on that. The worst thing in the world would be to abdicate our responsibility and our foundation as a country, and to just throw it away and say, we're not going to do that anymore. So we need to, as a country, as a nation, as a global nations, to push further and to do those big things, right? So we have to figure out how not to just re-go to the moon in the same way we went back in the Apollo days as a redo. We need to have even better technology to push further, to have these radical leaps.
How do you connect that to people? How do you connect them to this more aspirational 100-year extraterrestrial project that is where humanity, inclusive or otherwise, has a stake? What's our stake?
What's our stake? So when you think about it, everything you need for an interstellar journey, we need for this planet. We need to have better energy systems, because we cannot get to another star using the kind of energy we use now to get to the moon or to get to Mars or even around our solar system. We're going to have to do controlled fission really well, breaking atoms apart and store that energy in a very robust manner and control it. Are we going to have to do fusion, what powers the sun, which we don't really know how to do well? Are we going to have to use antimatter because we need orders of magnitude more energy? Imagine if we go a small way toward doing that, right? And what that means for life on Earth. When you start to talk about sustainability, we need equipment that recycles, that reuses, that's very efficient, right? That is very robust.
Right.
That makes a difference. That's what we need right here on this planet.
But I want to know what gives you your faith in human spirit and humankind, because I don't know that we've earned the benefit of the doubt that you've given us. I'm not sure if we were to discover another species that our first instinct wouldn't be to not necessarily annihilate it, but to dominate it. So what makes you so confident in mankind?
I am a short-term pessimist and a long-term optimist.
Okay.
Because I know we're going to do some crazy things.
No, you could say, listen, podcast, you can say whatever you want. You can throw it out there.
We're going to do crazy things, right?
Yeah.
And it clearly is getting worse before it's getting better. The fact that we can't figure out that the weather is changing, but we got to still keep using these fossil fuels. Who the hell are people thinking about?
Right.
You know, we can't live without the Earth. It's not about saving the Earth.
Right.
It's about saving ourselves.
Sure.
What's irritating me is that we're taking other creatures along with us.
Right.
The other part that gives me optimism, humans aren't the only best and only hope for the world or Earth or the universe. The Earth is going to continue on,
Sure.
even as we wipe ourselves out.
Right.
So we have to do some regrouping. I think we have some of that in us, but it's getting really difficult. And that's the reason why it's important to have more people involved. When you talk about, folks who are saying, oh, is it, are these guys just getting ready to go? Right? Or should we, people were almost giddy about what was going on with a Virgin Galactic launch and SpaceX launch and Blue Origin launch. It was almost giddy, right? And saying, oh, they're taking up the mantle of what NASA's not doing. They're going to democratize space. I went up with NASA, right? I was chosen with that. There's been so much that has happened out of that part of space exploration. But we have to look at who the gatekeepers are. I always use this term gatekeepers because those are the folks who are building up that body of knowledge and questions and applications and uses on the other side. Who do we want our gatekeepers to space to be?
The gatekeeper, I always view the gatekeeper question as who are the resource guarders? Because so much of the strife on Earth is about resource guarding, whether it be justified or not. It's about the fear of running out, not having enough, having what you have taken from you and given to someone less deserving. So much of our problem is that we view things as a zero-sum game.
I think you've been reading my notes.
Have I really?
Yeah, you have.
Let me look over there. Gatekeepers, they're there almost like bouncers. They're there to make sure that only the people that they deem proper and worthy are allowed access to the fruits of our collective knowledge. And there's always a sense of keeping the others at bay. And I wonder if space becomes that way as well, that it's about whether it be we're trying to keep China from the rare metals we think we're going to find in some asteroid belt, or whether we're the people that go up there are trying to keep other billionaires from getting the credit or the money from it. Gatekeepers always seem to exist in a non-cooperative moment. And that's maybe that's cynical, or skeptical, I should say.
Well, I mean, there's the gatekeepers that way, but there's all the gatekeepers who think that they're fostering the next generation, that they're fostering and choosing the best people. They're the ones who, so when you look at the sciences, the gatekeepers who are part of the research institutions, right? Who get to choose you to work in their lab, right? There are all kinds of gatekeepers. Part of that whole piece is, who do people see as having the right stuff? Right. Yeah. And this is where it's interesting about private industry versus government. Sometimes the government is much more accessible, or you can force it a lot more than you can force private industry.
It's like hires like, because if you don't, it happens everywhere. If the people who control the levers of hiring and power look like a certain, people tend to hire themselves. The people that they see as most like them, not even consciously, I would imagine, although some probably are.
Both ways.
Both ways. But until you start getting different people in positions of authority, I think you're still fighting it still feels like a negotiation, like, okay, we'll give you 2 women. But when you have a woman there, now it just feels natural and it's a more open field, no?
Well, so you have to consciously do it. Who do we want being the guardians, the curators of what we do with space, of the questions we ask? I want to get more people involved in determining what happens, not just a few gatekeepers. We need to have more.